In a forgotten kingdom, a king who trusted everyone but understood little was about to face a destiny-changing encounter. One strange man, called mad by all, entered his life, and everything began to shift in ways no one could imagine. From a slap that saved a life to a chair that prevented disaster, every act seemed foolish, yet each one carried hidden wisdom. Was he truly insane, or the only sane one among them? What followed turned jealousy into chaos and fate into a mystery no one could control. This is the story where madness meets destiny, and nothing is what it seems. In a powerful ancient kingdom, a kind-hearted but inexperienced king struggled to find truly wise advisors. Despite having a full court of ministers, he often felt confused and uncertain about important decisions. Everything changed when he encountered a strange man in the forest, someone everyone called mad. But this madman soon began to influence events in ways no one could understand. One after another, unexpected incidents proved that he might not be foolish at all, but someone guided by hidden wisdom. What seemed like chaos slowly turned into a chain of life-saving moments that changed the king's destiny forever. Long ago, in a vast and powerful kingdom, there ruled a king who was known for his kindness and justice. His people respected him because he never acted cruelly, and his heart was always clean. However, despite his good nature, the king lacked deep wisdom and sharp judgment. Because of this weakness, he often felt uncertain in important matters. He relied heavily on advisors, hoping they would guide him toward better decisions. But unfortunately, most of his courtiers were ordinary men, full of words but empty of true insight. They could speak beautifully in the court, yet their advice rarely had real value. This situation troubled the king deeply. He wanted his kingdom to grow stronger, wiser, and more powerful, but he could not find anyone truly capable of guiding him. The journey into the forest. One day, feeling mentally exhausted from constant confusion, the king decided to leave the palace for a short journey. He took his trusted courtiers and guards and went deep into a forest, hoping the silence of nature might bring him peace and clarity. The forest was calm and beautiful. Birds sang freely, rivers flowed gently, and tall trees swayed in the wind. For a few hours, the king felt relaxed. He spent time hunting and observing nature, temporarily forgetting the pressures of the throne. But as the sun began to set, it was time to return. A strange encounter. While returning through a narrow forest path, something unusual caught the king's attention. Beneath a large ancient tree, a man was sitting alone. He was talking to himself, gesturing with his hands, and laughing at times. From a distance, he looked completely mad. The king raised his hand, signaling his guards to stop. He stared at the man carefully and thought, is this man truly insane, or is there something hidden behind his behavior? Curiosity slowly took control of him. Instead of ignoring the man, the king walked closer with his courtiers following behind. A conversation that changed everything. The man was wearing torn clothes and looked like someone disconnected from reality. But the moment he spoke, his voice carried surprising confidence. The king asked calmly, "Why do you speak to yourself? Have you lost your senses?" The man looked at him, smiled slightly, and replied without fear, "It is not I who has lost sense, but those who think they are wise. You and your people are the ones living in confusion. I am perfectly aware of what I am doing." The courtiers were shocked by his bold tone. The man continued, "I see this forest not as trees and land, but as future palaces. One day, this place will belong to someone with vision, and that person could be me." His words were so fearless that everyone became silent for a moment. A decision that raised questions. The courtiers whispered among themselves. Some believed the man was truly insane, while others felt there was strange intelligence hidden in his madness. The king, instead of reacting emotionally, became even more curious. After thinking for a while, he made a decision. "Bring him to the palace. I want to observe him closely." The guards obeyed immediately. The unexpected incident on the way. As they traveled back toward the palace, the strange man suddenly attempted to escape. He ran toward the forest path, trying to disappear into the wilderness. But the guards quickly caught him and brought him back. No one understood his behavior, but the king still did not lose interest in him. A shocking revelation at the palace. When they finally reached the palace gates, a surprising scene unfolded. People were gathered outside, celebrating and shouting with joy. The king stepped forward and asked, "Why is everyone celebrating?" One of the ministers replied, "Your Majesty, we received news that the road you usually travel was blocked by enemy soldiers hiding in ambush. They were waiting to attack you." The king was stunned. The minister continued, "We believed you would not return safely. But you changed your route at the last moment. That decision saved your life." Silence fell over the court. Slowly, the king turned his eyes toward the strange man. Something clicked in his mind. This was not an ordinary man. Rising jealousy in the court. From that day onward, the king kept the man close to him. He began involving him in discussions and decisions, ignoring the objections of his advisors. But this created deep jealousy among the courtiers. They could not accept that a mad-looking outsider was gaining more influence than them. So, they began to secretly plot against him. The first deception. One day, the courtiers approached the man with a false story. In our royal tradition, they said, the court session only becomes successful if someone surprises the king in an unusual way. If you slap the king, he will reward you greatly. The man, who trusted them blindly, agreed. The next day, during the royal gathering, he walked toward the king and slapped him firmly. The entire court gasped. But what happened next shocked everyone even more. The king's crown fell to the ground, and from inside it, a poisonous scorpion crawled out. If the crown had remained on his head, the king would have been bitten instantly. Turning point. Instead of becoming angry, the king was shaken with realization. He understood that the act, though shocking, had saved his life. He immediately embraced the man and rewarded him with honor and wealth. The courtiers were shocked. Their plan had completely failed. But their jealousy only grew stronger. The second plot. Not willing to give up, they tried again. This time, they said to him, "When the king sits on his throne, pull the chair at the exact moment." It is another royal tradition. The man agreed again. When the king was about to sit, the man pulled the chair. However, the king quickly regained balance and did not fall. But upon inspection, it was discovered that the chair was already broken from beneath. If he had sat normally, he could have been seriously injured. Once again, the man had unknowingly saved the king. And once again, his respect increased. The final conspiracy. The courtiers were now desperate. They decided to remove him permanently. They contacted a neighboring kingdom and secretly encouraged its ruler to attack. Their hidden plan was to place the blame on the man and have him killed during war. Soon, a war was declared. The battlefield miracle. On the battlefield, tension filled the air. Soldiers prepared for battle, weapons were drawn, and both armies stood face to face. The man stepped forward boldly and challenged the enemy king directly. Suddenly, a wild lion emerged from the forest and attacked the enemy ruler. Without hesitation, the man rushed forward. He fought the lion with incredible courage and eventually defeated it, saving the enemy king's life. The enemy ruler, deeply impressed, immediately stopped the war. He declared peace, saying, "A man who saves lives deserves respect, not destruction." The rise of honor. News of the incident spread across both kingdoms. The man's bravery and unusual wisdom became widely known. Even the king, who once considered him strange, now fully trusted him. Eventually, he even married his daughter to the man, raising his status further. The final truth. The courtiers were still burning with jealousy, but before they could act again, an old and wise advisor stood up. He said calmly, "Understand this truth, when destiny chooses someone, no force can bring him down. And when God decides to honor a person, the entire world may try to oppose him, but his honor will only increase." His words created silence in the court. For the first time, the courtiers realized their mistake. They let go of their jealousy and accepted the truth. Conclusion. After many years, the man eventually passed away peacefully. The kingdom returned to normal, but his story remained forever. His life became a lesson for generations that destiny is not controlled by jealousy, power, or planning. It is guided by a force greater than all human understanding. When destiny supports someone, no power can stop their rise. History has always proven one thing: those who walk with truth may face opposition, but in the end, they always prevail.